It's August 16th, 2020. The NBA playoffs are here. We're going to talk about who's playing and when. Justice for Cannon or justice for common sense? I'm going to talk about the murder of Cannon Hanat, and also Sleepy Joe has announced his tag team partner, and lo and behold, it is a black woman. Now who's rolling with them? This is Over the Culture podcast, where you get to hear my spin on things I like music, sports entertainment, movies, TV shows, and your mom. You also get to hear about things I don't like this QAnon group, the QAnon, is the QAnon, whoever. Fuck them niggas. What's up, everybody? I am your Bastard of Ceremonies, the One Gig Kid, Pat Stay Black, Alex Treblack, Reefer Sutherland, the most interesting blurred in podcasting, the troll of trolls, the social distancing consultant, Steve G. And this is Over the Culture, bitch. Hey, what's up? We back, baby. Had another hiatus. Can't get this shit straight, man. What we gonna do? What we doing with this podcast, man? What's up, though? My brothers and sisters, my black people, my white people, my Caucasian Americans, my Mexican homies, my hombres, my Asian niggas, Jewish niggas. What's up, niggas? Yo. But yeah, we back, man. Doing this Over the Culture shit this Sunday. Where y'all's mamas at? She doing good? Y'all keeping y'all's hands clean? Keeping your private areas clean? Taking care of upstairs, downstairs, around the corner? This is Over the Culture. I'm Steve G. And we got a running mate announced, Kamala Harris. Don't be locking up niggas. That's not cool. You gotta stop locking up niggas if you want our vote. At this point, I was gonna vote for Joe Biden and Joe Exotic. I was gonna vote for goddamn Joe Biden and Joe Budden. I was gonna vote for fucking Joe Biden and a can of paint. I was gonna vote for Joe Biden in this goddamn dirt underneath my house shoes, walking to this car to record this. I like to think that people could change. Call me weird. It's just this kind of glass half full mentality I try to apply to scenarios, and sometimes I'm wrong, sometimes I'm right, but it doesn't hurt to be positive. And we gotta do what we gotta do to get orange face, tiny dick, little hands, Cheeto face in Commando, the suburban commando. We gotta get that motherfucker out of here come November. And he's trying to get rid of TikTok, and he's trying to get rid of the mail-in votes, and he's just being a real big baby. He's a sore loser. And I'm sick of him and his fucking followers. His MAGA hat, Jimmy Earl, fucking Tommy Jean, fucking assholes. QAnon, Kanon, QAnon. Those motherfuckers. All of those motherfucking Marvel Universe, Nancy Drew, fucking Stephen King, fucking conspiracy theorist fucking fucks who love coming up with these marvelous stories, but yet they can't even read. The most illiterate fucking demographic who are consistently going out every 4 years and voting. Yes, those motherfuckers. And it would serve me well. It would be a light at the end of some tunnel just to see him removed from the White House. Because his followers, those funky fucking honkies, and you know, from my new white listeners, I'm not talking about Caucasians. I ain't talking about white people. I'm talking about funky fucking honkies, okay? Since he's been in office, these funky honkies have looked at this and used this as their green light to show their funky fucking asses. It's time to be racist out in public, anywhere, anytime. give a fuck about the repercussions because I'm protecting my rights. This is freedom of speech. This is freedom of speech. Okay, Tommy Jean, Jimmy Earl, you're exercising your freedom of speech, but there's also this whole thing where you can catch these fucking hands. There's also this thing called consequences and repercussions. And you never know who's got time today, cuz. You just might pick the wrong nigga. Meet Tracy. We're gonna call her Tracy Elizabeth. Tracy Elizabeth is in a Facebook group that Steve G is in. And some dumb fucking fuck made a post about the kid who died, Cannon Hennett. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, but someone made a post and they're trying to connect the dots with that shooting of the 5-year-old in Black Lives Matter. And what the fuck does one have to do with the other? So Tracy is just diarrhea at the mouth. Oh, Black Lives splatters. Your life doesn't matter. You're just a fucking poor fucking lazy black that just wants to eat off of Uncle Sam and blah, 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 blah. And she's talking to me. She's talking to Stephen G. And you know what, Tracy? You picked the wrong one. Yeah, you can say whatever you want in these Facebook groups. You can say whatever you want to say here in these American grounds. But you can also get dragged, Tracy Elizabeth. And that's exactly what we did. Because when she started cackling and coming after me, making 3 posts per minute with her fucking racist ass, I did my research. And Tracy Elizabeth, you're a thug. You have felony after felony after felony. You have some children that you need to tend to, Tracy Elizabeth, because you're behind on support. You have a husband that's in and out of jail, Tracy Elizabeth. He's a thug. You need to tend to your husband and make sure he stays out of there, making those cheap license plates. Tracy Elizabeth, you got arrested for possession of heroin. Don't do me, Tracy. Don't do me. Don't come for me, Tracy Elizabeth. I didn't send for you. But since you came for me, we got motherfucking time. You thought you had one? Oh no, you picked the wrong one, Tracy Elizabeth. So yes, exercise your freedom of speech, but there are so many ways to fight this fight. And what these dumb Trump tards don't understand is, it's best when you just give these motherfuckers their own rope. And I have yet, Tracy Elizabeth, to really drop these receipts. I can really drop these receipts. I have your whole rap sheet. And with the power of the internet and the smartphone, Kamehameha Petty. Motherfucker, the Prince of Petty. You have no idea who you're fucking with. Tracy Elizabeth, any of you Trump tards, come for me, fuck with me with that Trump shit, with that Trump cuck MAGA fuck shit. Nah. We got dirt on you, Tracy Elizabeth. Yes, we got dirt on you, doggy. So I told her, I know something about you, and I think you know what I know. And that had her shaking in her boots. She went from posting 3 posts per minute to silence. You can't throw stones in the glass house. No, you cannot. I don't want to disparage felons. I have some in my family. But my thing is, don't sit on your soapbox or stand on your soapbox talking about this thug and that person and they need to abide by the law and this and that. Fuck shit, bullshit, fuckery, cuckery. Don't play tickle tank with me, piss on my leg and tell me it's fucking raining. Because if you come at me with that fuck shit, I will pull the fucking veil. I will pull the fucking curtain. I will pull your fucking skirt for the world to see. And Tracy Elizabeth, you just became Exhibit A. So, Cannon Hannett, Cannon, yes, the 5-year-old Cannon who got shot by the dumbass fuck who's in jail, by the way. And I guess I need to repeat that. The guy who shot the 5-year-old white kid is actually in jail. His name is Darius Sessoms, a 25-year-old man. Little emphasis on the word man. He shot the boy at point blank range at 5:30 on August 9th, which was last Sunday. Hannett was playing outside with his 2 older sisters. He was taken to Wilson Medical Center where he died from his injuries. The motive for the shooting is still unknown. But here's the thing. The killer, the guy who murdered Cannon Hannett, he was arrested within 24 hours and subsequently charged with first-degree murder and denied bond. Okay? Darius Sessoms, the man, the 25-year-old man who shot the boy, Cannon Hannett. He was arrested within 24 hours and subsequently charged with first-degree murder, denied bail, denied bond, all that. We want justice for Cannon Hannett. Okay, I get it. That was a horrible thing. When any kid is killed by another kid, by an adult, anyone, when another kid is murdered, it's a horrible thing. And the person who murdered him is in jail, okay? But we want justice for Cannon Hannett. I get that. And the guy who killed him is in jail. You know what? See, this is what we're dealing with. You're trying to reason with the unreasonable. And I threw that shit out the window a long time ago. So I just play along with their fucking game because I know, and maybe a lot of them are fucking this dumb. But justice, when you're asking for justice, you want the person, you want the perpetrator, the assailant, you want him or her to be arrested, apprehended. You want him to be nabbed, okay? Instantly, immediately. That's justice. You want them to go to jail, whether for life, death penalty, or serve a very long sentence, okay? That's what justice is. So when the murderer of 5-year-old Cannon Hannett, when he's found, arrested, thrown in jail, charged with first-degree murder, denied bond, all within 24 hours, I think that's swift justice, if you ask me. However, the murderers of Breonna Taylor still have not been arrested. And you want to know why Black Lives Matter is a thing. Why isn't Black Lives Matter out rioting and looting, you may ask, for Cannon Hannett? Why aren't they doing that? Well, for one, let's be honest. It was a white child, and I don't think there's going to be droves of Black Lives Matter people coming out in support of this. I do think that a lot of people that are a part of the Black Lives Matter movement are appalled by this because, like I said, this is a horrible event. This is a very tragic event. But this also has nothing to fucking do with Black Lives Matter. This dumb nigga, Darius Sessoms, he killed this boy on his own. Okay? And now Darius Sessoms and his bitch ass is already in an orange jumpsuit, got a mugshot taken, and he's in jail. He's in jail. That's justice. So it would be ridiculous. It would be ludicrous for Black Lives Matter to go out and riot for Cannon Hannett, asking for justice, demanding justice, when justice has already been served. So what kind of justice are you fucking expecting? What more do you want? Meanwhile, George Zimmerman's still out going to Klan conventions and signing Skittles bags with his dumb fucking autograph. How about that shit? I swear, man, y'all dumb motherfuckers are on some trash, dude. Y'all stay on some fucking trash with your dumb ass contrived conspiracy theories about the Clintons. Okay, man, so get this, all right? Hillary Clinton and the Obamas, they're fucking baking toddlers in the pizza oven in the basement of a pizzeria, right? Okay? And then let's not forget that Obama's from Kenya, right? He's a Kenyan terrorist, all right? This is what motherfuckers scratch their heads thinking about. They get together. I think there's an incest convention. This is what I envision. There's an incest convention, and they annually fucking have this convention, and they just coming up with these stupid fucking conspiracy myths and theories. Yeah, man, they're baking babies. They're baking babies in the pizzeria, man. And then the pizza babies, they grow up, and then they're going to try to take over the world. But no, see, they're going to meet their day of reckoning when Donald Trump, okay, they met their match with Donald Trump, and he's going to save the day. And then the TGIF music fucking hits the cue, and fucking Miller Boyett production, and fucking blase blah. Talking out of their fucking dumb assholes, their cousin kissing assholes. That's what we're dealing with. Justice has been served for Kenneth Hannett, and may he rest in peace, man. Condolences to his family. This is a tragic event, and I guess you just gotta leave extra dots out for these motherfuckers to keep them occupied. So, the 2020 NBA playoffs are here. Finally. The playoffs were originally scheduled to begin on April 18th. However, the league suspended the season on March 11, 2020 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic after some players tested positive for the virus. On June 4th, the NBA Board of Governors approved a plan to restart the season on July 31st. This proposal was then approved by members of the National Basketball Players Association on June 5th. Under this plan, the 22 top teams in the league at the time of the suspension play 8 additional regular season games to determine playoff seeding, and 16 of those teams will then play in a conventional postseason tournament. However, should the 9th seed within a conference finish the regular season within 4 games of the 8th seed, they will then compete in a play-in series. The last time a play-in game was played to determine a playoff spot was in 1956. And this is the Houston Rockets' 8th consecutive postseason. The Toronto Raptors entered their 7th consecutive postseason. The Boston Celtics entered their 6th consecutive postseason. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers entered their 4th consecutive postseason. The Los Angeles Lakers made the playoffs for the first time in 7 years. The Dallas Mavericks made the playoffs for the first time in 3 years. The Golden State Warriors missed the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. And the San Antonio Spurs missed the playoffs for the first time in 23 years. Sorry, Popovich. On February 23rd of this year, the Milwaukee Bucks became the first team to clinch a playoff spot. The Toronto Raptors, Los Angeles Lakers, and the Boston Celtics subsequently clinched playoff berths before the season was suspended on March 11th. So on the East, we'll have the Milwaukee Bucks playing the Orlando Magic. The Indiana Pacers at the 4 seed will be playing the Miami Heat, the 5 seed. Boston Celtics at the 3 seed will be playing the 6-seeded Philadelphia 76ers. And the 2nd seed Toronto Raptors will be facing the Brooklyn Nets at the 7 seed. The Los Angeles Lakers have the number 1 spot on the West. They'll be facing Portland, who won their buy-in game against the Memphis Grizzlies. The Houston Rockets with the 4 seed will be facing the Oklahoma City Thunder. At the 5 seed, the 3rd seeded Denver Nuggets will be facing the Utah Jazz in the 6th seed. The 2nd seeded Los Angeles Clippers will be facing the Dallas Mavericks in the 7th seed. So tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, we will have the Jazz facing the Nuggets, at 4 o'clock tomorrow, we'll have the Nets facing the Raptors. And at 6:30, the 76ers will be playing the Celtics. The 9 o'clock game will be the Mavericks versus the Clippers. And then on Tuesday at 1:30, we'll be having the Magic face the Bucks. At 4 o'clock Tuesday, we'll have the Heat versus the Pacers. 6:30 Tuesday, we'll have the Thunder facing the Rockets. And 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, we'll have the Trailblazers facing the Los Angeles Lakers. And everyone's talking about the scary, horrific Portland Trailblazers. They're going to be a threat to King James, AD, and the Los Angeles Lakers. And it should be a good matchup, but we're en route to Ring 4. It's the return of the King! I know Melo's having his redemption tour, but we talking about LeBron James. He's in rare form. Still hurting him. And he's got a cast around him. Danny Green, Anthony Davis. They're saying Rondo might come back, but who cares? He's got Avery Bradley. When I say Avery, you say Bradley. Avery, Bradley, Avery, Bradley. And then he's got cruise control. So Return of the King! But then we also have Kawhi.
The last man of cornrows.
And his Los Angeles Clippers equipped with Patrick Beverley, Paul George, and others. But you know what? If I was a bet man, I'm putting all my money on the King. Because it's time for that ring. Number 4. Today in sports history, 1903, the Tigers play a home game in Toledo, Ohio. Yanks win 12-8. In 1920, Ray Chapman of the Indians is hit in the head by Yankees pitcher Carl Mays. He dies the next day in the only major league fatality. In 1927, the first home run is hit out of Comiskey Park in Chicago by New York Yankee Babe Ruth. In 1936, the 11th Summer Olympic Games close in Berlin. In 1954, the Sports Illustrated magazine begins publishing. In 1965, the AFL awards its first expansion franchise, the Miami Dolphins. In 1976, the St. Louis Cardinals beat the San Diego Chargers 20-10 in Tokyo, Japan, in NFL Expo. In 1977, the Yankees blow a 9-4 lead in the 9th inning, but beat Chicago 11-10 in the bottom of the 9th. 1987, the New York Mets beat the Chicago Cubs 23-9. Ouch. In 2003, at the age of 18, Cristiano Ronaldo makes his debut for Manchester United in the Premier League in a 4-0 home victory over Bolton Wanderers. In 2008, Jamaican sprinter Usain Bolt sets a new world record of 9.69 seconds to win the coveted 100-meter gold medal at the Beijing 2008 Summer Olympics. And on that same day, American swimmer Michael Phelps wins his 7th of 8 gold medals at the Beijing Olympics when he takes the 100-meter butterfly in Olympic record 50.58. And that was my half-assed sports report. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Red Hot Chili Peppers album, Mother's Milk. It turns 31 years old today. We'll be back after these messages. In today's birthdays for August 16th, Canadian ice hockey player Carey Price turns 33. Japanese baseball player Yu Darvish turns 34. American singer, songwriter, and pianist Vanessa Carlton turns 40. American actor, director, producer, and screenwriter Steve Carell turns 58. Retired American football player Christian Okoye turns 59. American actor, producer, and director Timothy Hutton turns 60. American actress Angela Bassett is 62 today. Also 62 is American singer, songwriter, producer, actress, and director Madonna. Canadian director, producer, and screenwriter James Cameron is 66. American R&B singer-songwriter James Taylor is 67. Also 67 is American talk show host, singer, and actress Kathie Lee Gifford. And turning 87 today is American actress Julie Newmar. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. You know what that means, right? You pay nothing. It's free 99. It's a free app that you put on your phone, and it lets you go from there. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Check out Anchor. Let me tell you about a baseball player named Raymond Chapman. He was born January 15, 1891, in Beaver Dam, Kentucky. Raymond Johnson Chapman. He spent his entire career as a shortstop for the Cleveland Indians. Raymond Chapman was hit in the head by a pitch thrown by Yankees pitcher Carl Mays. He died 12 hours later. He is the only Major League Baseball player to die from an injury received during an MLB game. His death led Major League Baseball to establish a rule requiring umpires to replace the ball whenever it became dirty. Chapman's death and sanitary concerns also led to the ban on spitball after the 1920 season. Chapman's death was one of the examples cited to justify the wearing of batting helmets. However, it took over 30 years to adopt the rule that requires their use. Chapman was born in Beaver Dam, Kentucky, and raised in Herrin, Illinois. He broke into the major leagues in 1912 with the Cleveland team, then known as the Naps. Chapman led the American League in runs scored and walks in 1918. A top-notch bunter, Chapman is sixth on the all-time list for sacrifice hits and holds the single-season record for 67 in 1917. Only Stuffy McInnis has more career sacrifices as a right-handed batter. Chapman was also an excellent shortstop who led the league in assists once. He batted .300 or better 3 times and led the Indians in stolen bases 4 times. In 1917, he set a record of 52 stolen bases, which stood only until 1980. He was hitting .303 with 97 runs scored when he died. He was one of few players who Ty Cobb considered a friend. There was a conjecture that 1920 was going to be Chapman's last year as a pro baseball player. Shortly before the season began, Chapman married Kathleen Daly, who was the daughter of a prominent Cleveland businessman. Chapman had indicated he was going to retire to devote himself to the family business into which he was marrying, as well as to begin a family. On August 16, 1920, Chapman was struck in the head and killed by a pitch thrown by Carl Mays during a game against the New York Yankees at the Polo Grounds. At the time, pitchers commonly dirtied balls with soil, licorice, and tobacco juice, and scuffed sandpapered, scarred, cut, or spiked them, giving a misshapen earth-colored ball that traveled through the air erratically, tended to soften in the later innings, and as it came over the plate was very hard to see. Mays threw with a submarine delivery, and it was late afternoon. Eyewitnesses recounted that Chapman did not react to the pitch at all, presumably unable to see it. The sound of the ball striking Chapman's skull was so loud that Mays thought it had hit the end of Chapman's bat. He fielded the ball and threw to first base. Chapman collapsed to his knees, bleeding from his left ear. He was mumbling as he was helped off the field and taken to the hospital, where he died about 4:40 a.m. His pregnant wife, Katie, summoned from Cleveland by phone, arrived at 10 a.m. and fainted on learning he had died. Thousands of mourners attended Chapman's funeral at the Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist in Cleveland, and he was buried at Lakeview Cemetery in Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland players wore black armbands for the remainder of the season. A bronze plaque was designed in Chapman's memory, funded by donations from fans, was hung at League Park, and was moved to Cleveland Stadium when the Indians moved there in 1946. Sometime in the early 1970s, however, it was removed for unknown reasons. In 2007, it was refurbished and made part of Progressive Fields Heritage Park, which includes Cleveland Indians Hall of Fame and other exhibits from the team's history. Chapman had been inducted into the Team Hall of Fame in 2006, part of the first new induction class since 1972. And that was Raymond Chapman. And a special mention to those no longer with us. Raymond Allen was an American television actor. Born Raymond Gilmore Allen on March 5, 1929, he was known for his appearances on television during the 1970s. He had recurring roles as Ned the Wino on Good Times, as Aunt Esther's husband Woodrow Woody Anderson on the NBC sitcom Sanford and Son, and as mechanic Merle the Earl on Starsky and Hutch. He reprised his role as Uncle Woody Anderson in the Sanford and Son spinoff, The Sanford Arms. Allen also made guest appearances on The Jeffersons, What's Happening, The Love Boat, and the film Watt Stacks. Although he had not appeared in any acting roles since 1985, he continued making public appearances where he spoke and signed autographs. According to his MySpace page, he was forced to retire from acting due to illness. Allen was married to Barbara Williams from 1963 to 1977. They had 3 children, who included daughters Terrence Allen, Brenda Allen, as well as son Raymond Gilmore Allen Jr. Allen died on August 10, 2020, from a respiratory illness. He was 91. His daughter, Terrence Allen, confirmed the news on her Facebook page. Robert Trump was the younger brother of Donald Trump. He died yesterday. Frank Gifford was an American football player, actor, and television sports commentator. Born Francis Newton Gifford on August 16, 1930 in Santa Monica, California, he would play for 12 years as a halfback and flanker for the New York Giants of the National Football League. And he would also do play-by-play announcing and commentating for 27 years on ABC's Monday Night Football. Gifford won the NFL Most Valuable Player Award from United Press International in 1956, the same season his team won the NFL championship. During his career, he participated in 5 league championship games and was named to 8 Pro Bowls. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1977. After retiring as a player, Gifford was an Emmy Award-winning sportscaster known for his work on ABC's Monday Night Football, Wide World of Sports, and the Olympics. He was married to television host Kathie Lee Gifford from 1986 until his death. In November 2015, Gifford's family revealed that he had suffered from CTE. The family said, after losing our beloved husband and father, Frank Gifford, we as a family made the difficult decision to have his brain studied in hopes of contributing to the advancement of medical research concerning the link between football and traumatic brain injury. We decided to disclose our loved one's condition to honor Frank's legacy of promoting player safety, dating back to his involvement in the formation of the NFL Players Association in the 1950s. Robert Culp was an American actor, screenwriter, voice actor, and director widely known for his work in television. Born Robert Martin Culp on August 16, 1930 in Oakland, California, Culp earned an international reputation for his role as Kelly Robinson on I Spy from 1965 to 1968, the espionage television series in which co-star Bill Cosby. He played secret agents. Before this, he starred in the CBS 4-star Western series Trackdown as Texas Ranger Hobie Gilman in 71 episodes from 1957 to 1959. The 1980s brought him back to television as FBI agent Bill Maxwell on The Greatest American Hero. Later, he had a recurring role as Warren Whelan on Everybody Loves Raymond. Culp gave hundreds of performances in a career spanning more than 50 years. Culp took frequent walks in the Runyon Canyon, a park close to his apartment in the Hollywood Hills of Los Angeles. On the morning of March 24, 2010, he left the apartment to go for a walk. Later, a jogger found him lying unconscious on the sidewalk, close to the lower entrance of the canyon. Police officers and paramedics were summoned quickly, but they were unable to revive him. Culp was taken to Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center, but all efforts at resuscitation failed, and he was pronounced dead around 11 a.m. at the age of 79. Although the first reports from the police suggested that Culp died from striking his head on the ground when he fell, it was subsequently determined that he had collapsed and died of a heart attack. The only apparent injury he had sustained in his fall was a minor cut on his head. Following that official investigation, Culp's body was buried at Sunset View Cemetery in El Cerrito, California. Later on April 10, 2010, a memorial service for Culp was held at Grauman's Egyptian Theater in Los Angeles with his family, friends, and some of his fans attending. At the time of his death,
Culp had just completed performing a supporting role as Blakesley in the film The Assignment. Culp was also working on several screenplays at the time of his death. One of those screenplays, an adaptation of the story of Terry and the Pirates, had already been accepted for filming and was scheduled to start production in Hong Kong in 2012, with Culp directing the film. Terry and the Pirates had been Culp's favorite comic strip, and as a boy, it was his longtime wish to make a film based on it. Fritz von Erich was an American professional wrestler, promoter, and patriarch of the Von Erich family. Born Jack Barton Atkinson Sr. on August 16, 1929 in Jewett, Texas, he was a one-time world champion and a record 20-time WCWA champion. He was also the owner of World-Class Championship Wrestling Territory. Atkinson married Doris J. Smith on June 23, 1950. Together they had 6 sons, Jack Barton Jr., Kevin, David, Kerry, Mike, and Chris. Of Atkinson's 6 sons, Kevin was the only one still living by the time Atkinson died. The couple later separated, and Doris divorced her husband on July 21, 1992 after 42 years of marriage. Atkinson died of brain and lung cancer on September 10, 1997. His funeral service was held at the First Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas. His body was cremated with his ashes interred in the same plot as his 4th son, Kerry. Rest easy, y'all. On this day in 1989, the band Red Hot Chili Peppers released their 4th studio and video album, Mother's Milk. After the death of founding guitarist Hillel Slovak and the subsequent departure of drummer Jack Irons, vocalist Anthony Kiedis and bassist Flea regrouped with the addition of guitarist John Frusciante and drummer Chad Smith. Frusciante's influence altered the band's sound by placing more emphasis on melody than rhythm, which had dominated the band's previous material. Returning producer Michael Beinhorn favored heavy metal guitar riffs, as well as overdubbing perceived by Frusciante as excessive, and as a result, Beinhorn and Frusciante constantly fought over the album's guitar sound. Mother's Milk was a greater commercial success than the band's first 3 albums, peaking at number 52 on the U.S. Billboard 200. It received widespread airplay for the single Knock Me Down and the Stevie Wonder cover Higher Ground. It became their first gold record in early 1990. Although it was not met with the same positive critical reception that its predecessor, the Uplift Mofo Party Plan in 1987, had garnered, Mother's Milk was the first step for the band in achieving international success, and according to Amy Hansen of AllMusic, turned the tide and transformed the band from underground funk rocking rappers to mainstream bad boys with seemingly very little effort. After Red Hot Chili Peppers received a record deal with EMI Records in 1983, the group established themselves as a prominent funk rock band with their 1984 debut album, The Red Hot Chili Peppers. Disappointed with the results of the production, vocalist Anthony Kiedis and bassist Flea replaced guitarist Jack Sherman with founding member Hillel Slovak, who had quit his band, What Is This?, several weeks before. After Red Hot Chili Peppers received a record deal with EMI Records in 1983, the group established themselves as a prominent funk rock band with their 1984 debut album, The Red Hot Chili Peppers. Disappointed with the results of the production, vocalist Anthony Kiedis and bassist Flea replaced guitarist Jack Sherman with founding member Hillel Slovak, who had quit his band What Is This? Several weeks before. The group's George Clinton-produced second album, Freaky Styley, was Slovak's first effort with the band. The Uplift Mofo Party Plan was released in 1987 and saw original drummer Jack Irons return after he too left. The album, a critical success that peaked at number 148 on the Billboard 200, is the only Red Hot Chili Peppers album the original members recorded together. Shortly following the ensuing tour, Slovak died of a heroin overdose and left the rest of the group in complete shock. Irons, citing an inability to cope with the death, quit. Kiedis and Flea, similarly devastated, were determined to persevere despite the loss of 2 key members. In September 1988, they chose Dwayne Blackbird McKnight, a friend of Clinton's and former member of the funk band Parliament, to replace Slovak on guitar. D.H. Peligro, formerly of the punk rock outfit Dead Kennedys, replaced Irons. The new lineup made it through 3 shows before the band felt McKnight didn't fit and he was fired. McKnight was so angry, he threatened to burn Kiedis' house down. McKnight, however, was with the band long enough to record Blues for Meister, the first Chili Peppers album featuring Flea on lead vocals, and only song to feature Peligro as well. The song would appear a few years later on Out in LA. The band wasn't without a guitarist for very long. In October 1988, Kiedis and Flea found a replacement for McKnight in teenage guitarist John Frusciante. Flea had originally directed Frusciante to audition for the band Thelonious Monster. An avid Red Hot Chili Peppers fan, Frusciante was, according to Flea, he really was talented and a knowledgeable musician. He knows all the shit I don't know. I basically know nothing about music theory, and he studied it to death, inside and out. He's a very disciplined musician. All he cares about are his guitar and his cigarettes. Frusciante was also not very familiar with the funk genre. I wasn't really a funk player before I joined the band. I learned everything I needed to know about how to sound good with Flea by studying Hillel Slovak's playing, and I just took it sideways from there. With Frusciante in place and Peligro still on drums, the band embarked on a small tour and began writing music for the next album. It wasn't long though before the band felt they needed to part ways with Peligro as well, who had his own drug problems. Peligro, who helped co-write Stone Cold Bush, Taste the Pain, and Sexy Mexican Maid for the Mother's Milk album, was fired in late November 1988. Kiedis said it was one of the hardest things he had to do because they considered Peligro a good friend. The band was now once again without a drummer and were forced to hold open auditions. The last to audition, Chad Smith, was a 6'3" tall drummer who, according to Flea, lit a fire under our asses. Kiedis later said the audition with Smith left the band in a state of frenzied laughter that we couldn't shake out of for a half an hour. Smith came from a different background than his three bandmates. Kiedis, Flea, and Frusciante were more into the punk rock scene, while Smith was into classic rock and heavy metal. Smith was officially hired in December 1988 and played a handful of shows with the band to finish out the year. Unlike the stop-start sessions for the Uplift Mofo party plan, where Kiedis would frequently disappear to seek drugs, pre-production for Mother's Milk went smoothly. Many of the songs had already been written, and some were even recorded by the time the band started pre-production in January 1989. Taste the Pain was recorded before Smith joined, and it featured Philip Fisher on drums. The band recorded basic tracks at Hully Gully Studios in Silver Lake. Songs like Knock Me Down were formed from jam sessions without any input from returning producer Michael Beinhorn. According to Flea, the Hully Gully sessions bore fruit. We played hard and fast more than at any other times in our careers, I think. A lot of chops were going down. We played constantly, got to know each other, and came up with a record. Kiedis and Flea recognized that Frusciante's presence had become a significant influence on the band's new material, as the Hully Gully sessions were proving to be extremely productive. Flea recalled that Frusciante was an immense new talent to the sound of our band and a big opening up for us. The band entered the Ocean Way recording studio in Hollywood in February 1989 to record Mother's Milk. It was weird when I first joined the band because we recorded the album after I'd been in the band for just a few months, and Chad had actually been in just for 2 weeks, Frusciante recalled. I was still a little bit confused about my position, and we were just like 4 individuals. Music is all about welding people into a unit, and with all the touring we've been doing, we're now like an 8-armed cosmic octopus. Beinhorn pushed the Chili Peppers to produce the best possible takes for each of the record's 13 tracks, while the band hoped to obtain a hit record. Although there has been stress and conflict during the recording of other Chili Peppers albums, the sessions for Mother's Milk were uncomfortable thanks to Beinhorn's incessant desire to create a hit. He recalled that he and the band were at odds, saying, suffice to say, that I had a very intense personal relationship with the band, and somewhere along the line, I fell out with them. Beinhorn constantly clashed with Frusciante over guitar effects, according to Kiedis. Beinhorn wanted John to have a big, crunching, almost metal-sounding guitar tone, whereas before, we always had some interesting acid rock guitar tones, as well as a lot of slinky, sexy, funky guitar tones. Frusciante was frustrated with Beinhorn's attitude, and he resented his playing on the record, thinking that it was too macho. Kiedis recalled that in the end, I couldn't tolerate his direction any longer. He was trying to squeeze something out of me that I wasn't feeling, and we got in a fight, and I knew that I was done with him. In March 1989, the Chili Peppers embarked on a 2-month tour to break in the new lineup. The Positive Mental Octopus Tour saw the band play small venues throughout the United States, including several concerts on the East and West Coasts. At this time, Frusciante began asserting more energy, and his ego got a little swollen, according to Flea. He was running around, being rude to girls, and getting them pissed off. But that's to be expected. I mean, shit. You're 18 years old, and you want to get laid really bad, and all of a sudden you're in a band the girls want to fuck. You're bound to go crazy. Another incident following a performance at the George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia, caused legal repercussions. A student accused Kiedis of engaging in sexual misconduct and indecent exposure. Kiedis was subsequently arrested and released on bail pending a trial that was set to be for a later date. The band's style of music developed with the arrival of Frusciante. Producer Michael Beinhorn observed, "It was apparently early on that John was the perfect guitarist for the band. He brought the elements of songwriting and composition to the band, which they never truly had prior to his involvement. I believe that John is a pivotal figure in the Chili Peppers, being that he is such a distinctive songwriter." Frusciante altered the band's sound by introducing melodies, harmonies, and more complex song structures. In contrast to the group's previous albums, which featured groove and rhythm-based songs, Mother's Milk contained melodic compositions that reflected the new guitarist's influence. Most of the record, due to Beinhorn's presence, is composed of heavy metal guitar riffs and excessive layering. Mother's Milk features an array of musical styles in its 13 tracks. Among the songs that surfaced from the Hully Gully sessions in early 1989, Knock Me Down became one of the most radical shifts in style for the band. The introspective lyrics, which analyzed the death of Hillel Slovak and the devastating effect drugs can have on life, were a new approach for Kiedis, who primarily wrote of sexual intercourse and hedonistic lifestyle. Kiedis did not, however, want the track to be associated with anti-drug sentiments, claiming the song is about letting your friends know that you need help, and then being willing to accept the help of others when you need it, whether it's from drugs or from a number of other personal problems. According to music journalist Jeff Apter, the song Knock Me Down was clearly the most important track the band had ever laid down. It proved that these Peppers were more than knuckleheads with socks hanging off their cocks. Musically, the track integrates the Chili Peppers' typical punk influences, but asserts heavier emphasis on melody and harmonics that lead into more alternative territory. Knock Me Down was originally recorded to be a duet between Kiedis and Frusciante, but the song was remixed before being released as a single. The new mix inadvertently emphasized Frusciante's voice instead of Kiedis. Higher Ground became another song that helped the band achieve international success, originally written and recorded in 1973 by R&B singer Stevie Wonder. The track was, according to Flea, a perfect cover for the band. The lyrics are great, especially as far as the situation that the band has been in, as far as the state of mind for the past few months. That song is really about raising and uplifting yourself spiritually. Flea said the band covered the song to pay homage to Wonder and the important role he played in popular music. The cover begins with a funk bass line, followed by multi-layered heavy metal guitar progressions and effects-treated vocals. Higher Ground's chorus features backing vocals from an array of friends and engineers who worked on the record. The individuals' competence in singing was irrelevant to the band because they sought to achieve a sense of unity. Mother's Milk was composed of a variety of songs that expanded the Chili Peppers' repertoire. The instrumental Pretty Little Ditty was one of the few songs that featured no guitar layering. Apter notes that the song is a dreamy, sweetly stoned instrumental featured deaf picking and strumming from Frusciante, intertwined with blasts of trumpet from Flea. The eclectic track was originally intended to be more than 3 minutes long, but was cut just under 2 minutes before the album's release. Taste the Pain reflects a more meditative and melodic theme, similar to Knock Me Down. Frusciante introduces psychedelic guitar progressions in the verse, while the lyrics touch on themes of love and loss. Other tracks such as Stone Cold Bush presented topics of prostitution, while Punk Rock Classic was in retrospect an emulation of typical punk rock songs by Black Flag and the Germs, bands that were influential to the Chili Peppers. Mother's Milk features a black and white photograph of the band sprawled across the arms of a proportionally larger naked woman. Controversy arose when the model Dawn claimed the band did not notify her that she was the one chosen to be on the cover of Mother's Milk. Furthermore, several national chains refused to sell the record because they believed the female subject displayed too much nudity. A more strictly censored version was manufactured for some retailers that featured the band members in far larger proportion than the original. The cover of the record was influenced by a promotional poster Kiedis had from the 1960s of Sly and the Family Stone, in which frontman Sly Stone had a miniaturized band in his palm. When Kiedis was finding shots of the band to use on the cover, Frusciante initially refused every photograph Kiedis showed him, but settled on one of him sitting down laughing. Mother's Milk was affixed with an explicit language warning sticker that, according to Kiedis, doesn't bother me. Our lyrics are very explicit, whether it's about sex or friendship or love for life in general. The cover booklet for the record features a painting by Hillel Slovak. Following the album's release, A limited number of promotional posters were issued with the model's breasts exposed. Dawn had no knowledge of the pressing and sued the band, winning a $50,000 settlement. The singles for Mother's Milk followed a similar artistic theme. The cover of Knock Me Down featured the band shirtless in front of a photograph of an elephant in an African setting. Higher Ground was similar in that all four members, photographs of which were taken from the music video, were printed in front of a large image of Kiedis' face. Taste the Pain featured the band together with a red and yellow background with the Chili Peppers asterisk adjacent to the typeface. Although more commercially successful than the band's previous albums, Mother's Milk received mixed reviews from critics who were unimpressed with the excessive distortion found throughout the album. However, it was praised as well. Amy Hansen of AllMusic called it a pivotal album for the Red Hot Chili Peppers and believed that if anyone doubted the pulsating power that leaped from the blistering opener, Good Time Boys, it took only a few bars of the Red Hot Chili Peppers' outrageous and brilliant interpretation of Stevie Wonder's classic Higher Ground to prove that this new lineup was onto something special. Wrapping up with the aptly titled, truly punked out punk rock classic and the band's own punched up tribute to Magic Johnson, Mother's Milk was everything the band had hoped for, and a little more besides. Steve Morse of the Boston Globe called it a high-octane fusion of metal, funk, and rap, sort of Prince meets Jimi Hendrix in the Twilight Zone, while noting that Knock Me Down combined electrifying musicianship. Toronto Star commented that the Red Hot Chili Peppers were the mothers of invention for the 1990s. In 2005, Mother's Milk was ranked number 359 in Rock Hard magazine's book of the 500 greatest rock and roll metal albums of all time. While Carly Darlin of the Orange County Register found the album to be an energetic and fun restatement of the Red Hot Chili Peppers' whiplash funk attitude, she believed that with the exception of the Dream instrumental, Pretty Little Ditty, it doesn't break any new ground. She continued by saying that, if anything, Mother's Milk is a slight step away from the party funk grooves of the last two albums and a return to the band's punk rock roots. They even reprised the cover of Jimi Hendrix's Fire, which they did as a B-side for their Fight Like a Brave 12-inch 2 years ago. Furthermore, Mark Jenkins of the Washington Post said, the polite term for albums like Milk is eclectic, but it really sounds as if the band is unraveling. Considering the circumstances, it's not especially surprising that the album seems to be looking for someone to give it directions. However, Jenkins did believe Frusciante possessed solid metal chops and means to show them off. Village Voice critic Robert Christgau mocked the band's ability to promote empathy and found the guitar layering of Mother's Milk to have been done improperly. Punks who love Hendrix and P-Funk way back, they're finally cashing in on their good taste, and though unbelievers diss their sincerity, execution's the problem. They didn't have the chops to bring it off then, and by pushing off the guitar up front, they sound even cruder now. But they're perfectly nice fellas, really. Mention Compassion in the very first verse. Released on August 16, 1989, Mother's Milk peaked at number 52 on the US Billboard 200 and number 32 on the US Cashbox album charts. The record failed to chart in the United Kingdom and Europe, but climbed to number 33 in Australia. Knock Me Down reached number 6 in the US Modern Rock Tracks, whereas Higher Ground charted at number 11. The latter of the two ultimately proved to be more successful. However, by influencing foreign charts at number 54 in the UK and 45 in Australia and France. While Taste the Pain did not chart in the US, the single reached number 26 in the UK, the group's first top 40 single in the region. The success the Red Hot Chili Peppers achieved with Mother's Milk was something the group had been working towards since the release of their debut album. After notes, after 5 hard years, several departures, sackings, and one tragic death, the Peppers were now much more than a hometown sensation. The band had played numerous concerts before the album's release and aired new songs weekly to generate interest in it. Mother's Milk was certified gold by the Recording Industry Association of America in late March 1990. It is now certified platinum and was the first Chili Peppers album to ship the excess of 500,000 units. In 2003, the album was re-released through EMI. All tracks were completely remastered and an additional 6 songs were included, as well as handwritten liner notes from Flea. Mother's Milk instantly garnered more attention than the band's previous records, and as such, the venues the band performed in were able to accommodate far larger crowds. For the first time, the band also upgraded to a full-fledged tour bus and added backup musicians and singers. Longtime friend Keith Barry was added to play horns, and backup singers Kristen Vigard and Vicky Calhoun also joined the tour. When the band hit England, roadie Robbie Allen would open for the band, providing a comedy performance in which he would pretend to cut off his own penis. Allen would later become one of the band's backup singers on One Hot Minute tour. The album's official launch, however, was held in New York City at a club called Tramps. Following this, Red Hot Chili Peppers embarked on an introductory European tour, which included a free show in Amsterdam's Dam Square that attracted over 10,000 attendees. On September 8, 1989, the band commenced their North American leg in Seattle. The leg saw an overwhelmingly positive response from critics across the country. Following a concert in Portland, journalist John Foyston of The Oregonian noted that the Hollywood-based quartet fomented on an audience reaction that had to be seen to be believed. The stage divers started rushing the stage from the moment the band walked on. Once on stage, it was an issue of luck and chutzpah. Todd Caudle of the Colorado Springs newspaper, The Gazette, said the Chili Peppers' performance at the Colorado Indoor Sports Complex was the kind of place where kids could be kids and no one cared. Soft drinks stuck to the floor and the rafters shook with the stunning barrage of decibels. People in the audience, steeped in sweat and pressing against the barricades in front of the stage, threw their arms up in unison and barked out approval of one fast, furiously played song after another. By the end of the leg, the band members were having trouble adjusting to their newfound fame, as virtually every concert on the tour was sold out, and Mother's Milk approached 500,000 units sold. Spin reported that following a show in Atlanta, Flea invited a woman to his hotel room for sexual intercourse, but locked himself in the bathroom upon arriving because all he could think of were his wife and daughter. Kiedis ended a 2-year-long relationship with actress Iona Sky, and Frusciante, looking back on the tour years later, admitted, "I was totally abusing the situation, partying and screwing a bunch of girls. At 19, I might have looked like a stud, but I was a weakling inside. I wasn't proud of who I was then." Shortly before the end of the North American leg, the band filmed a performance at the Long Beach Arena, which was released as Psychedelic Sex Funk Live from Heaven in 1990. A concert at the San Francisco Civic Auditorium on New Year's Eve 1989 attracted over 10,000 attendees and was considered by band photographer Tony Willisgroff to be the biggest concert I had seen them play at that point. It gave me a handle on how hard the band had worked in the USA in the years prior to this. The tour continued in the United Kingdom, where the band was receiving less attention. Kiedis complained after several shows there, "We're huge in the States and it's sort of frustrating and confusing that no one knows who we are here." It was not until after their return from the UK that Taste the Pain was released as a single and subsequently charted at number 29 there. In March 1990, the band was asked to perform on MTV's coverage of spring break in Florida. At the event, Flea and Smith attempted to engage the audience by jumping from the stage. The situation got out of hand, and the two were alleged to have sexually assaulted and verbally abused a female audience member. They were arrested several days later on charges of battery, disorderly conduct, and solicitation to commit a lascivious act, but released on $2,000 bail. Smith and Flea's arrest worsened Kiedis' impending charge in Virginia from the Positive Mental Octopus tour. He was convicted of sexual battery and indecent exposure and sentenced to pay a fine of $1,000 per charge. The Chili Peppers wound up the Mother's Milk tour with a variety of performances that included the 1990 Pink Pop Festival and several other large-scale concerts. Once complete, the band rested, and Frusciante and Flea organized a short-lived side project called Hate with Fishbone vocalist Angelo Moore and LA Guns drummer Nicky Alexander. EMI capitalized on the recent interest in the Chili Peppers by releasing a music video compilation VHS called Positive Mental Octopus, which was named after the tour in 1990. That same year, the band also released Show Me Your Soul, a song that was originally a B-side on the Knock Me Down single on the soundtrack to the hit romantic comedy film Pretty Woman. The song was a minor hit for the band and a music video was made. For unknown reasons, the band also recorded a cover for the Bachman-Turner Overdrive song, Taking Care of Business. However, the song would never be released. In an August 2014 interview with Rolling Stone, Smith discussed the anniversary and legacy of the album, saying that a remastered version was still in the works and that he gave the okay to include a live show recorded in Cleveland, Ohio, that likely will be a bonus disc. However, he thinks that all of the outtakes from the record have already been released, although there might be a few things that the band left unfinished that could be released. As of 2020, EMI has yet to re-release the album. And that's Mother's Milk. day in entertainment history. In 1962, Ringo Starr replaces Pete Best as the Beatles drummer. He would have his first official concert with the Beatles 2 days later. In 1969, the second day of the Woodstock Rock Festival in New York is held. In 1974, the Ramones have their concert debut in New York City CBGB's. In 1980, Bill Ward quits Black Sabbath. In 1983, Johnny Ramone suffers a near-fatal head injury during a fight over a girl in front of his East Village apartment. On that same day, singer Paul Simon marries actress Carrie Fisher. In 1985, the Red Hot Chili Peppers released their second studio album, Freaky Styley. In 1986, Madonna's True Blue album goes #1 for 5 weeks, and her single Papa Don't Preach goes #1 for 2 weeks. In 1987, Bon Jovi releases their third album, Slippery When Wet, Billboard's top-selling album of 1987. In 1989, the Red Hot Chili Peppers release Mother's Milk. In 1990, NWA releases the album 100 Miles and Running. In 1994, Prince releases the album Come. That's C-O-M-E. In 1997, the band Phish performed at the 2-day music festival The Great Went at Loring Air Force Base in Limestone, Maine. They play 500 minutes of music, 6 sets, and 2 encores. There is an estimated attendance between 65,000 and 70,000, and it is the top-grossing concert of the season, making over $4 million in box office receipts. In 1999, the game show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire makes its debut. In 2015, Styles P releases A Wise Guy and a Wise Guy. In 2016, When the Levees Broke, a documentary directed by Spike Lee of the effects of Hurricane Katrina on New Orleans, premieres at New Orleans Arena. In 2017, Emma Stone is the year's highest paid actress with $26 million according to Forbes. In 2018, Scarlett Johansson is the world's best paid actress of the year, earning $40.5 million according to Forbes. And in 2019, A$AP Ferg releases Floor Seats, Snoop Dogg releases the album I Wanna Thank Me, and Young Thug releases So Much Fun. So that wraps up another edition of Over the Culture Podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming out. God bless you. Good night.
Ohio.